You renting a car that's tied to a murder. It's Cash Color Campus, a high level of conversation on live hip hop daily.tv. And we are back. It's your boy Mecca, host of the Cash Color Campus podcast. And you know what, for real, actually, Herb, I miss hearing Action. Like, run that back, man. Like, run that back for 2024. All right, today, I'm gonna run down some talking points that's been going on in the cannabis space. Definitely some hot button topics lately. And I'm going to kick the show off with the first topic, which is the NCAA. Right now, this might be one of the best times to be an NCAA athlete. Between NIL deals and now the NCAA's division proposes to remove cannabis from a banned substance list, it's lit. like at this moment, it's lit. I feel bad for players, almost like in any other sport. I feel bad for players who back years ago, this was a big deal. Yeah, it's not like you could retroactively go back and change anything, but this is now on the table. According to High Times, the NCAA were announced at the 2024 NCAA convention that took place January 10th through the 13th in Phoenix, Arizona, that the NCAA Division I proposed ending the practice of drug testing athletes for cannabinoids. Now, that's major news. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've watched a lot of players for decades now fall hard because they got found guilty of consuming cannabis, got found guilty for, piss testing and coming back dirty. Definitely a hard time, man. But yeah, according to the NCAA, they're looking at trying to remove that, man. And if they do, saying that is going to be a big boom for players, not just because players now can consume, but primarily because you don't have to worry about necessarily this being the thing that gets you knocked out of the game. You know what I mean? And that's one of the major things. Like from football players to basketball players to all Division I athletes, the last thing you want to do is find yourself out of a scholarship or having to find another school because you failed a drug test. Now I can hear some people arguing that at that level of play, and if you got a scholarship, you should develop way better discipline, period. You know what I'm saying? Like, you shouldn't be doing anything that could get you knocked off that. And I do agree. Like, at some point, you need to understand what your own discipline is, based on what you're doing. Now, I'm a big advocate of cannabis, as y'all do know, but I do feel that position that if you're in a position, like say if you was at a job and that job's paying you $1 million, and the one thing they say is you can't fail this drug test, but you come in there failing the drug test, like what's wrong? You know what I'm saying? Like y'all know me based on my own show, how I did my detox last year. And it was primarily, and I told people more than anything I did it because I wanted to do it, and I did do it because I wanted to do it. But I also had to pass a drug test. And rather than go through the whole measures of going through the synthetic drug test and all that, I said to myself, look, I'm just going to rip this Band-Aid off and stop smoking for a second, because me failing this could be very detrimental to my life. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, I could develop this level of discipline for this many months and not do this in order to make sure that I could clear this level, and then I can get back to doing what I was doing. I feel like everybody should have that level of discipline. But with that said, NCAA, I think this is a really dope move. Now, in their press release, they actually said the words, cannabis is not a performance-enhancing drug, and we determined that drug testing conducted at the NCAA championships to focus on substances that actually impact the competitive outcomes. And that was said by Pat Choon, the athletic director of Washington State and the chair of the Strategic Vision and Planning Committee. Those words in itself says a lot. So now they're looking for, I ain't gonna say Tristan Thompson got knocked for steroids, but now they're looking for that. They're looking more for that than they looking for whether or not you and your partners burnt a joint the night before last. So the NCAA did also go on to say that they don't in any way, shape, or form, not the members, condone or promote the use of cannabis, but they do want to focus their testing and on other things. So I think that's a huge step in the right direction for the NCAA, and I think it's a dope move, man, to be completely honest. So once this episode drops, I do want to get y'all opinions. Like, how do you feel about the NCAA's decision? Do you feel like it's a plus? Do you feel like that at some point maybe the athletes need to develop a little bit of discipline, especially when you know when the drug tests are coming? Like, if you ever played on that level, you know when this is coming. Like, you really should have a level of discipline to say, I ain't gonna do this for A, B, C, D, E, F, G amount of time just so I could pass this and get back to the work. You know what I mean? But it is what it is. I'd love to hear y'all comments about this, because I'm actually thinking it's a good thing. I do promote this. I think this is dope for them, but everybody has a different opinion. Let's see what your opinion is. The next thing I did want to talk about was, and this is something I was going to bring up last week when we wasn't here on the show, because last week this was a real topic all up and down my timeline, was the possibility, and it's looking like it's a strong possibility, that cannabis gets declassified lower to, like, I think it was a Schedule 3 drug. It doesn't decriminalize it totally. It's not a legalization totally, but it's a big step in a good direction as far as for cannabis when it comes to cannabis businesses and things like that. It's also a big boom for, let's not lie, it's also a big boom for Joe Biden if he does pass this. Because I saw one poll that said that if he does pass this bill in particular, not even legalization, that your approval rates amongst voters is going to triple. You know what I'm saying? It's going to triple. So I feel like he's playing chess, not checkers at this moment. You know where you're at politically. You know what you've done, but you also said, I could add this little nugget here in the side. towards the end of the conversation. It's either lunatic over here or me who just gave y'all at least Schedule 3 cannabis. Recently, Biden asked the Justice Department to dismiss a current cannabis industry lawsuit that seeks to block the enforcement of marijuana prohibition against state legal activity. And primarily he did this because he feels like the court should not get ahead of the possible cannabis rescheduling decision that's being considered, which tells me right there that's happening. Which tells me that right there that's happening. With over the next couple of weeks, you're going to be chilling on your phone and you're going to see a bunch of people who were calling this man Brandon and all this other stuff like, yo, thank you for declassifying it to Schedule 3. Again, it's not decriminalization, it's not legalization, but it's a drastic drop from where it was before because it was a Schedule 1 drug, which was ridiculous in itself. You know what I'm saying? Which is ridiculous in itself. So I think that's another good move that's being made right now because we need to see some real progress on a federal level when it comes to cannabis. I've told y'all some of my issues just on my level of where I'm at, where you can't use Stripe. Cash App made me change my name. You know what I mean? You're going through levels of different issues simply because you say that you're in this business of cannabis, which should be favored more. You know what I mean? It really should be. So I think this would be dope. It'd be definitely dope for some businesses, primarily probably MSOs more than anything. But it's going to be good for some businesses as far as when it comes to the banking part of everything and tax purposes and things like that. So I'd love to get people's opinion on that. The declassification. Do you feel like that is enough that is happening? I'm gonna argue too, no, it's not enough, but at the same time, nothing's ever enough. Like we have to at some point, and I'm gonna take the words of my boy Chris Brown. At some point, you got to get somewhere in order to get somewhere, and you know what I'm saying? Like if you saying descheduling down to Schedule 3, all right, cool. No, it's not legalization. No, it's not decriminalization, but it's definitely now putting you in the conversation of now we can start having this. Who says if he would have said I'm going for full legalization, people wouldn't then also say, but also this. You know what I'm saying? Like there's always going to be a but. There's always going to be a but at the end of these stories. I think it's a positive situation, but that's just me. Like what do you feel about the possible cannabis rescheduling when it comes to going from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3? You think that's a positive thing? Do you think that's not enough that Biden and the Biden administration is doing? Definitely chime in on the comments and let us know how you feel. Do you feel like that's enough? Also, going back with just the overall with Cash Color Cannabis, right now we're in the process of dropping the first issue of the magazine for the 2024. I'm extremely happy about that. That drops next week. The theme of it is store closings. And it's called Out of Business. But the theme of it is how social equity applicants and social equity recipients, people who are trying to open up dispensaries, the fight that it is to actually not only get into business actually after getting this license, but staying in business and making this business stay afloat. And I had a chance to speak to some amazing people about this, people who are actually in business, people who are in the process of getting their business started up. And yeah, it was a really good circle conversation. I mean, a roundtable conversation about that, where you get a good view of what the real problems are, from financing to just overall the business education of what it's like to actually be in business. We often make the remarks of if somebody is a drug dealer and successful, then they could run a Fortune 500 company. I personally don't believe that's true. Like, simply because you know how to sell dope or you know how to sell weed don't mean you can run Tesla. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a different animal. Once you get inside here, you got to realize about inventory, taxes. You got to realize a bunch of stuff that you never even had thought about on this other level. And that's why I feel like a lot of social equity recipients are going through. You're realizing that it's a lot bigger and it's a lot more expensive, clearly. Like, I heard, shout out to my boy Tahir Johnson. Tahir was telling me about how his budget went from thinking it was going to cost $700,000 to open up the store to it cost 1.7. And if it's an issue for you to get up 700,000, imagine the issue it is to get up the next million. You know what I'm saying? And this is just to get the store done, not to do anything else. Who has money like that sitting around, especially when you can't go to a bank, you can't get a loan, you can't do typical things that a business would be able to do. So we dove into those kind of conversations. We also talked about another controversial conversation, which is recipients who are selling their licenses. You know, a lot of times people get into some situations where you do realize how much money it is, and it's probably more beneficial for you to sell part of this or to sell the whole thing. You know what I mean? And you selling it probably to somebody who's not going to give a shit about what this was for. But you also, you know, made some bread. But y'all got to read the story, because I mean that was really another good conversation that we had, and I was blessed to have that. Plus, we have features with my man Exhibit. We got features with my man Antoine Mordecai Sr., Dr. Bridget Williams, as well as a lifestyle feature I did called "How to Break Up with Your Weed Man." This is based on a true story. This is based on a true story of the many weed men I had to break up with over these last few years, simply because you find somebody who's more convenient and has a better quality. You know what I mean? I mean, we all have gone through that if you're a smoker. Like, I went from people who I would go to their house at 11, 12 o'clock, and then, you know what I'm saying, and be able to go pick up a dime or pick up a 20, to now I got somebody pull up to me in their car with a suitcase full of shit, and you got a whole selection. I'm gonna pick the dude every single day, man. Every single day, I'm gonna pick that. So, you know, we got that story as well, and also shout out to Chef JD, man. She gave us a dope, amazing recipe for a lemon poppy cake that's infused, that she contributed to the magazine. So I'm very happy about that as well. And I'm looking forward to just putting this one out, because it's been a lot of work. And I'm getting better at collaboration. You know, thank you to people like my girl Ty St. Louis. Thank you to my man Rudy Brown. Thank you to JD. Thank you to people who contributed stories, contributed work, and contributed research to help us bring this whole issue together. Because prior to that, and I brag about it, but you shouldn't brag about this too much. Prior to that, the last 4 issues I did totally. You know what I'm saying? Aside from Ty being the copy editor, that was totally me. And you can't be the person who does every single thing. You know what I mean? Like, at some point, you got to take off one of them hats because you only got one head. And I came to grips with that in December. I said to myself, moving in 2024, that I'm gonna start taking off some of these hats and I'm placing them on people who I feel like got the responsibility to wear it. If you don't, I'll just take the hat off, put it on somebody else. But at some point, you can't constantly wear the hats. But the only hat I won't wear is the artistic direction that happens with the cover. Shout out to my boy DeCasso, who it takes him seconds. I'd be like, Casso, I got this idea. I give it to him. Next thing you know, my man sketched it out perfectly for me. And I love that for him. So look forward to that new issue coming out January 30th. It's going to be available on CashColorCannabisMagazine.com, print copies, and also it's going to be available for digital reading later in February. So be attention to that. I'm almost done. And I'm still giving direction, as you see. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that, man. It's going to be a great year. And plus, I got something else I'm working on as well, but I really can't speak about that until about another 2 weeks or so. But once I do announce that, it's going to be another thing that I really feel like is needed. And it's also going to be another chapter of the Cash Color Cannabis podcast history that needed to be complete. In the words of my man Cody Rose, I had to finish the story. So with further ado, we're going to go ahead and blank out tonight. It's going to be a short show because I'm here and I just want to give you some news tips. But tune in next week as I bring a guest through the studio. And also make sure you subscribe to the Cash Color Cannabis podcast. We just dropped some new episodes. One featuring my man Ramon Reyes, part of the Happy Monkey Collective in New York. They've been doing amazing work for years on the underground scene in New York, and now they are doing work in the legal market. And I wish them nothing but luck. Please listen to their episode as well as JD's episode that just went through. My girl Eat the Herb. We're gonna be going to her dinner party soon, and hopefully we'll be going to Costa Rica with her because I definitely want to see what that hotel is like. But last but not least, make sure you subscribe to Live Hip Hop Daily so you can keep up with all episodes of the show whenever we do go live. But that's Cash Color Campus, a high level conversation.